Hello friends, and welcome back. Don't forget to like this video and hit that subscribe button and join our YouTube family. Let's start the first part of episode. The courtroom fell into a heavy silence as the accusation rang out like a gunshot. Your Honor, she sold it all in secret. Kody Brown's voice thundered across the room, filled with rage, desperation, and something deeper, fear. Every eye turned toward him as he stood rigid at the plaintiff's table, his hands trembling despite his effort to appear composed. Across from him, Christine sat motionless, her arms folded neatly, her face unreadable. She didn't flinch. She didn't react. She simply watched. The judge leaned forward, her expression sharp and probing. "Are you saying, Mr. Brown, that Miss Brown illegally sold all of the properties you shared?" Kody swallowed hard, his voice cracking under the weight of his own words. "Not just mine, the whole family's heritage. Everything we built for decades gone." A wave of whispers rippled through the courtroom. Cameras flashed. Reporters scribbled furiously. The atmosphere was electric, charged with disbelief and anticipation. How could one woman dismantle an empire? And why did she look so calm? The case unfolding in Courtroom 12 wasn't just about property. It was about betrayal, power, and a legacy on the verge of collapse. The room itself was packed beyond capacity. Journalists lined the walls, their presence amplifying the tension. Kody stood tall in a gray suit that couldn't hide the strain etched across his face. His jaw was tight, his eyes restless. He looked like a man fighting to hold on to something already slipping away. Christine, on the other hand, appeared almost untouchable. Dressed in a pale blue top and black blazer, she sat with a quiet confidence that contrasted sharply with Kody's volatility. Her fingers were loosely intertwined, her posture relaxed, but her gaze? Unwavering. At the bench, Judge Martha Kellerman adjusted her glasses and tapped her gavel lightly. "Mr. Brown," she began, her voice calm but firm, "you've made serious allegations. Do you have proof?" Kody didn't hesitate. "Your Honor, I'm not here for drama. I'm here for justice. Christine sold every property we built behind my back, using false documents. And now, I have nothing." The courtroom went still. The judge nodded once. "Then let's begin." Kody reached into a leather case and slammed a thick folder onto the table. Papers spilled slightly at the edges, deeds, contracts, years of accumulated assets. "These," he declared, "are the original documents. My name, my signature, my rights." But Christine's attorney, Laura Sinclair, didn't even blink. Calmly, she stood and accepted a much slimmer folder from Christine. It looked cleaner, more organized, and somehow far more dangerous. "Your Honor," Laura said smoothly, "we acknowledge Mr. Brown's distress. But distress is not evidence of wrongdoing. Every transaction was legal and, more importantly, authorized." Kody let out a bitter laugh. "Authorized? I never signed anything." That was when Christine finally spoke. Her voice was soft, almost chilling in its calmness. "You did, Kody. Maybe not the way you remember, but you did." The judge leaned forward slightly. "Let's proceed with opening statements." Kody stepped forward, his voice steady but intense. "This isn't just about property," he said. "It's about betrayal. We built a life together, land, homes, investments. And she tore it all down. She created fake companies, moved money through secret accounts, and sold everything while I was focused on my family. This wasn't an accident. It was a heist." Laura rose immediately after. "The defense will show," she said, "that these properties were jointly owned, that Mr. Brown had full knowledge of transactions, and that Christine acted entirely within her legal rights. What he calls theft is actually independence." "Independence?" Kody snapped. "You call stealing everything I worked for independence?" Christine didn't even blink. "Yes." The prosecution called their first witness, Gerald Marks, Kody's longtime financial advisor. Marks testified that for over a decade, Christine's financial dealings were tied to Kody's. But something changed. "Last year," Marks explained, "I noticed multiple property titles being transferred into unfamiliar companies linked to someone named Christine Sullivan." The courtroom stirred. Laura stood. That's my client's legal name after her divorce. The judge nodded. Noted. But Marks continued. The signatures appeared to be Mr. Brown's, but forensic analysis suggested they were copied. The companies dissolved quickly. Funds were moved, many to foreign accounts. Gasps echoed through the room. Kody leaned back, arms crossed, a flicker of triumph in his eyes. I warned you, he muttered. But Christine remained composed. When given the chance to speak, she stood slowly. Yes, she said. I sold those properties. The room froze. But not for greed, she continued. They were mine. The judge narrowed her eyes. And the alleged forged signatures? Christine turned slightly toward Kody. I didn't forge anything. I had power of attorney. The words hit like a shockwave. Laura stepped forward, holding up a document. A notarized power of attorney, she explained, dated July 2019. It grants Christine full authority over these assets. The courtroom erupted. Reporters rushed out. Voices rose. Even the judge looked momentarily stunned. Kody's face drained of color. That was temporary, he protested weakly. But the damage was done. As the trial continued after a tense recess, Christine's defense began dismantling Kody's claims piece by piece. Documents appeared on screen, wire transfers, contracts, emails. One showed a $480,000 transfer into an LLC owned solely by Christine. Another revealed a handwritten letter from Kody himself, asking Christine to manage the properties. You're better at this than I am, Laura read aloud. Kody stared at the screen in disbelief. The evidence kept coming, bank statements, signed agreements, digital authorizations. Each one told the same story. Christine wasn't stealing. She was executing. Finally, Christine took the stand. I sold the properties because I earned them, she said firmly. I managed everything, repairs, finances, deals, while Kody moved between households. He signed papers. I built the system. Her voice wavered slightly, but she didn't break. He gave me power of attorney and told me not to let things fall apart. So I didn't. I built something, and when I realized he wasn't coming back, I cashed out. She turned toward him. You left long before I did. I just left with the titles. Kody shot to his feet. So this is revenge? No, she replied calmly. It's freedom. By the end of the day, the narrative had shifted. What began as a claim of theft now looked like something entirely different, a calculated, legal exit from a crumbling system. But just when it seemed the truth was settling, another bombshell dropped. A forensic accountant revealed hidden accounts, secret transactions, and a shocking name emerged, Mary. Behind the scenes, she had been working with Christine. Helping, planning, executing. Kody's world shattered further. And as the courtroom emptied, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a legal battle anymore. It was a war. The courtroom had not yet recovered from the previous day's revelations. By morning, the energy inside Courtroom 12 had shifted completely. What once felt like a straightforward legal battle had transformed into something far more dangerous, something layered with betrayal, strategy, and long-buried truths clawing their way to the surface. Kody Brown entered first. But he wasn't the same man. Gone was the commanding presence, the confidence that once filled the room before he even spoke. Today, his shoulders were lower, his steps heavier. His hair was pulled back, his face drawn, and the exhaustion in his eyes told a story no words could. He didn't look at anyone. Not the press. Not the judge. Not even Christine. Moments later, she entered. Calm. Composed. Untouchable. Christine walked to her seat with the same quiet confidence that had unsettled the courtroom the day before. But this time, she wasn't alone. Seated beside her was a sharply dressed woman, poised and observant. She leaned in slightly, whispering something to Christine, who nodded once. Kody noticed. His eyes narrowed. Who the hell is that? He muttered under his breath. His attorney leaned closer. Forensic accountant. They brought her in last night. Kody's jaw tightened. Why? The answer came moments later. Judge Kellerman entered and brought the gavel down. Court is now in session. Laura Sinclair rose immediately, her confidence unmistakable. Your Honor, the defense calls Savannah Lee to the stand. The woman beside Christine stood. Savannah Lee moved with quiet precision, taking the oath without hesitation. Her presence alone commanded attention, not through force, but through certainty. Laura approached. Miss Lee, could you briefly describe your expertise? Savannah nodded. I specialize in financial forensics. I analyze complex financial systems to uncover hidden transactions, fraudulent patterns, and undisclosed asset flows. And did you conduct such an analysis in this case? Yes. The room leaned in. And what did you find? Savannah paused just long enough to let the silence build. Another set of books. The words landed like a bomb. Gasps filled the courtroom. Reporters scrambled. Even Kody's attorney stiffened beside him. Kody shot to his feet. What did you just say? Sit down, Mr. Brown, the judge snapped, striking the gavel. Savannah continued unshaken. There are financial records dating back to 2016 that do not appear in any of Mr. Brown's declared accounts or businesses. These records were linked to a corporation called Red Cedar Holdings. Laura stepped closer. And who controls this corporation? At first, it appeared untraceable, Savannah explained. But after obtaining additional documents, we identified communication tied directly to it. She turned toward the screen. An email, she said. The courtroom display flickered to life. Sender, Mary Brown. Subject, the next phase begins. The date, March 2022. The room exploded into whispers. Kody looked like he'd been struck. Mary, he breathed. That's impossible. But it wasn't. Laura didn't hesitate. Your Honor, we have evidence showing that Mary Brown maintained consistent financial communication with Christine from 2021 through early 2023. Kody shook his head violently. No, that's not true. They don't even speak. They did, Laura cut in sharply. Just not where you could see it. The unraveling had begun. Savannah laid out the findings methodically: emails, transaction logs, shell companies, coordinated transfers. Each piece added weight to a truth Kody wasn't prepared to face. Mary assisted in establishing multiple LLCs, Savannah explained. She advised on account structuring, fund transfers, and the use of power of attorney authority. Christine remained silent. Still, unbothered. Kody, however, was anything but. This is a lie, he shouted. Mary would never, the gavel slammed down. One more outburst, Mr. Brown, Judge Kellerman warned, and you will be held in contempt. He sank back into his chair, but the damage was visible. His composure, whatever remained of it, was cracking. But Savannah wasn't finished. There's more, she said. The courtroom stilled again. In the course of my investigation, I also uncovered financial activity tied directly to Mr. Brown himself. Now it was Laura's turn to step back and let the impact hit. Explain, the judge said. Savannah flipped to another set of documents. Mr. Brown maintained undisclosed accounts under a business entity known as Brown Enterprises. These accounts received significant deposits, primarily from television-related earnings. A ripple of tension spread across the room. Were these accounts shared with the family? Laura asked. No, Savannah replied. They appear to have been exclusively controlled by Mr. Brown. Kody's attorney stood immediately. Objection. Overruled, the judge said without hesitation. Continue. Savannah's voice remained steady. These funds were transferred into offshore holdings. They were not disclosed in joint financial records or shared asset declarations. Now the whispers weren't just loud, they were relentless. The narrative had flipped. Again. Kody sat frozen. Moments ago, he was the victim. Now, he was exposed. The courtroom, the jury, the press, they were all seeing a different picture. Not a man robbed of his empire, but a man who had been playing his own game and losing control of it. After a short recess, proceedings resumed with yet another critical document. Laura stepped forward. Your Honor, we would now like to present the 2018 Family Trust Declaration. The document appeared on screen. This agreement, Laura explained, transferred partial ownership of multiple properties into a family trust. The judge adjusted her glasses. And the distribution? Laura didn't hesitate. Christine held 51% controlling interest. Mr. Brown held 49%. The room went silent. Kody stared at the screen like he didn't recognize it. "That's not what I signed," he whispered. Savannah responded calmly. "We verified the signature. It was executed using your authenticated biometric verification." Kody covered his face with his hands. He had signed it. He had given her control. Years ago. Without realizing what it truly meant. Everything was collapsing now. Not because it had been stolen, but because it had been handed over piece by piece, signature by signature. Christine hadn't broken the system. She had mastered it. As the session drew to a close, Laura delivered the final blow of the day. "Your Honor," she said, "the defense has demonstrated that Christine..." The fourth day of the trial began with a tension so thick it felt suffocating. Outside the courthouse, crowds had gathered, some chanting in support of Christine, others defending Kody. Signs waved, cameras rolled, and reporters delivered breathless updates. The case had become more than a legal battle. It was a spectacle. Inside Courtroom 12, however, the mood was far more serious. This was no longer about public opinion. This was about truth. Kody Brown entered quietly. No anger. No outbursts. No dramatic gestures. Just silence. He looked defeated. The man who once commanded attention now avoided it. His eyes were hollow, his movements slow, like someone carrying the weight of something irreversible. Christine arrived shortly after. Calm. Steady. Focused. She didn't look at Kody, not even for a second. Instead, she walked directly to her seat and placed her files neatly on the table, as if this were just another step in a long-planned process. But today was different. Today, everything would come out. The courtroom doors opened once more. And in walked Janelle. No lawyer. No dramatic entrance. No attempt to command the room. Just quiet presence. She wore a simple green cardigan over a modest dress, her expression calm but heavy, like someone who had carried a secret for far too long. The room shifted. Even the judge straightened slightly. Laura Sinclair rose. "Your Honor, the defense calls Janelle Brown to the stand." Janelle walked forward slowly, raised her hand, and took the oath. When she sat down, she didn't look at Christine. She looked at Kody. But he didn't look back. "Mrs. Brown," Laura began gently, "could you state your relationship to the parties involved?" Janelle nodded. "I was Kody's second wife for nearly 30 years, she said. "And Christine's sister wife and business partner." A pause. "And today," Laura continued, "are you here for the plaintiff or the defense?" Janelle hesitated. The entire courtroom leaned in. Then she spoke. "I'm here for the truth." A murmur spread across the room. Laura stepped closer. "Were you involved in the family's financial or property management?" "Yes," Janelle replied. "For years, I handled bookkeeping. Rent, taxes, maintenance. I saw everything." "And what did you observe?" Janelle exhaled slowly. Kody didn't manage things the way people think. Properties were scattered, some under different names, some under LLCs. Sometimes decisions were made without explanation. Kody's attorney stood. "Objection, speculation." "Overruled," Judge Kellerman said. "The witness has direct knowledge." "Continue." Laura nodded. "Did you know about Christine's actions before the properties were sold?" A long pause. "Then yes." The word hit like a shockwave. Kody's head snapped up. "I helped her," Janelle added. The courtroom erupted. Gasps. Whispers. Chaos. "Order," the judge demanded, striking the gavel repeatedly. Kody stared at her in disbelief. "You, what?" he whispered. But Janelle didn't look at him again. "Explain what you mean," Laura said carefully. Janelle reached into her bag and pulled out a worn red folder. "I started keeping records in 2022, she said. Christine came to me with concerns. She believed Kody was moving assets, shifting everything into Robyn's name. The room went still. So I checked. She opened the folder. Bank statements. Draft contracts. Transfer forms. Laura stepped closer. "And what did you find?" Janelle's voice hardened slightly. "A draft agreement," she said. "One that would have transferred full ownership of multiple properties, properties Christine helped pay for into Robyn's name. Silence. Complete silence. Kody didn't move. Didn't speak. Didn't breathe. That's not, he started, but the words died in his throat. Janelle continued. It wasn't finalized, she said. But it was real. And Christine didn't know about it until I showed her. Laura nodded. And what happened next? Janelle looked forward, her expression steady now. She decided to protect herself. The courtroom began to shift again. Not loudly this time, but deeply. The story was changing. Again. Was Christine stealing? Laura asked. Janelle shook her head. No, she said firmly. She was reacting. To what? Laura pressed. To being erased, Janelle replied. Kody finally stood. I was trying to protect the family, he shouted. Sit down, Mr. Brown, the judge snapped. But it was too late. The jury had seen it. The anger. The desperation. The loss of control. Laura took a step back, letting the moment settle. Then she delivered the question that would define everything. Mrs. Brown, in your professional opinion, based on your involvement, who controlled the family finances? Janelle didn't hesitate. Christine did. A ripple moved through the room. And who understood them? Christine. And who signed documents without reading them? Janelle glanced, just briefly, at Kody. He did. The final pieces were falling into place. Not as an explosion, but as a quiet, undeniable truth. Kody sank back into his chair. Everything he believed about control, about loyalty, about power was gone. Not stolen. Signed away. As Janelle stepped down from the stand, the courtroom remained eerily quiet. No whispers. No gasps. Just the sound of reality settling in. Laura stood for the final time that day. Your Honor, she said, the defense rests. Kody's attorney didn't move. Didn't object. Didn't respond. Because there was nothing left to say. Judge Kellerman looked over the courtroom, her expression unreadable. This court will recess, she said. Closing arguments will begin tomorrow. The gavel struck. People began to file out slowly. No frenzy this time. No chaos. Just quiet reflection. Kody remained seated, alone in a room that had once been filled with noise. Christine gathered her papers calmly. As she turned to leave, she paused. Just for a moment. Then she spoke without looking at him. You built the system, she said softly. And I learned how to use it. Kody didn't respond. He couldn't. Because deep down, he knew. She was right. The first part is over. Thanks for watching. Please like the videos and subscribe YouTube channel. Thanks for your supports. The next part of this episode is coming very soon.